The sun beats down like a hammer against an anvil, each ray searing my exposed skin as I stumble forward. My throat feels like sandpaper, my tongue swollen and useless in my mouth. I check my phone again, one flickering signal bar that appears and vanishes like a mirage. Please, I whisper to no one, my voice lost in the vast emptiness of the Arizona desert. Please connect. I press the emergency call button for the 5th time, watching the screen with desperate intensity. The call drops immediately. Again. 45 minutes ago, life had been normal. Bella and I were driving back from Tucson, the air conditioning struggling against the afternoon heat. Odessa, I think something's wrong with the tire, Bella had said, her voice casual, unconcerned. Can you check it? I thought I heard something. I'd pulled over without question, the good sister, the reliable one. The moment my feet hit the gravel, I'd bent to examine the perfectly fine front tire. As I was examining the tire, 10 seconds later, the engine revved. When I straightened and turned, dust was already billowing around me, Bella's face a blur behind the windshield of my Chevy, my car, as she sped away. I stood frozen, mind refusing to process what my eyes had seen. My sister had just abandoned me in the desert. I stumble over a rock now, catching myself before I fall. The memory of finding those papers in Dad's study last week burns hotter than the sun overhead. College tuition receipts for Bella, thousands of dollars neatly filed away, while I worked double shifts at Rosie's Diner to put myself through community college. 7 years of waitressing, saving every tip, working holidays and weekends to finally buy that used Chevy. My car, my freedom, my only real possession. Just until I get on my feet, Bella had said the first time she borrowed it without asking, then the second time, and the 10th. I'd finally stood up at dinner 3 nights ago, palms flat against the kitchen table. I'm selling the car. I got a job offer in Phoenix. The silence had been immediate, heavy. Mom and Dad exchanged a look I'd seen 1,000 times before. That's the family car, Odessa, Dad had said. Not a question, but a statement of fact. But it's in my name, I'd replied. The registration papers clutched in my hand like a shield. I paid for it. Every cent. Your sister needs it more than you do, Mom had added, the familiar refrain that had followed me since childhood. When Bella went to summer camp while I stayed home to help around the house. When Bella got new school clothes while I got hand-me-downs. When Bella's college was paid for while I worked and studied and worked some more. The memories blur together as heat waves ripple across the desert floor. I think of my childhood bedroom, walls bare while Bella's room overflowed with posters and trophies. I think of the keys always missing from my purse, of plans canceled because Bella needs the car tonight. I'd finally said no yesterday when Bella asked to borrow the car again, just one simple word that had felt like swallowing broken glass. No. No. Dad's face had darkened immediately. Family comes first in this household, Odessa Lynn. You know that. Mom's eyes had filled with tears. After everything we've done for you. I'd looked between them. These people who had raised me to believe I was less deserving than my sister. And something had shifted inside me. A lifetime of bending until I nearly broke. The car is in my name, I'd said. My voice steadier than I'd expected. I worked for it. I'll decide what happens to it. The shock on their faces had been almost worth the chill that followed, the silent treatment as I prepared for bed. Almost worth it. Not worth this. And now, as reality strikes back, I shield my eyes, scanning the horizon for any sign of civilization. Nothing but scrubland and cacti. My phone shows no service now, not even a flickering bar of false hope. The irony doesn't escape me. All those years working for independence, and here I am, completely dependent on the mercy of strangers if any happen to drive by this desolate stretch of highway. My foot catches on something, and this time I do fall, hands scraping against the rough ground. I taste blood as I push myself back up, legs trembling with exhaustion. Family comes first. The words echo in my head, taking on new meaning with each painful step. Yes, family comes first. But after today, I'm redefining what family means. If I survive this desert, if I make it back to civilization, nothing will ever be the same. I'll never again be the Odessa who gives and gives until there's nothing left. The registration papers for my car are still in my wallet, pressed against my hip as I walk. My car, my life, my choice. I take another step forward, then another. The horizon wavers in the heat, but I keep moving. I have to believe that something better waits beyond this desert. I have to believe that someone will help me. I have to believe that I'm worth saving. 3 miles later, I've finally managed to receive a signal. Dial 911 and ask for help. 10 minutes later, the police and emergency vehicle arrived, helped me with my wounds, and took me to the nearest police station. Now at through stay on. The officer Wilson's hand on my shoulder is steady, the first kindness I've felt in hours. His cruiser's air conditioning chills my sunburnt skin as he passes me a bottle of water. "Ma'am, abandoning someone in the desert is a serious offense," he says, his voice gentle but firm. "Your sister could face criminal charges." I gulp the water, my throat still raw. She just left me there. The words sound hollow, inadequate to describe the betrayal. "Miss Matthews, this wasn't just reckless." Officer Wilson taps his computer screen. "Your sister has 3 prior charges for reckless driving, all paid for by your parents." My hand freezes mid-sip. "What?" He turns the screen toward me, and there it is, Bella's name. 3 separate incidents. Fines totaling over $2,000, all marked PAD. How did I not know about this? The question slips out, meant more for myself than him. "Family can keep secrets," he says, watching me carefully, "especially when money's involved." My phone buzzes in the cup holder where it's been charging. I'd barely had enough battery to make the emergency call when a trucker finally spotted me on the roadside. 3 missed calls from Mom. 5 from Dad. 1 text from Bella. "They're freaking out. Just come home and we can fix this." Suddenly, a burst of messages arrive. My mom accidentally added me into a group chat I have never seen before. I scroll up through the message history, looking for some explanation, when I see the pattern of their plan. "She's being stubborn about the car. We need to teach her a lesson." My stomach lurches. I keep scrolling. "Dad, don't do anything drastic." "Mom, just make sure the car stays in the family. If she can't sell it, she can't leave." "Bella, I'll handle it. She'll realize she needs us." Officer Wilson notices my hands shaking. "Miss Matthews, are you all right?" "They planned it," I whisper, turning the phone so he can see. "They wanted to strand me." "Ah." His expression hardens as he reads. "This changes things. This is premeditated. Abandonment and unauthorized use of a vehicle." I close my eyes, memories washing over me like the desert heat. The family loans I was pressured to give $500 for Bella's spring break trip, $300 for her phone bill when she'd spent her money on concert tickets. My account balance perpetually hovering near zero while I paid for family expenses. "I kept every receipt," I murmur, opening my eyes. "Every bank statement. I didn't know why I was saving them." "Dennett?" "That was smart," Officer Wilson says, typing something into his computer. "Documentation matters in cases like this." Cases? The word feels foreign on my tongue. Financial exploitation often accompanies emotional abuse. He speaks matter-of-factly, without judgment. "Your registration and insurance are in your name?" I nod, pulling my wallet from my pocket. The registration is still there, folded and worn but intact. "I'd like to introduce you to someone," he says, starting the cruiser. "Judge Martin regularly comes to your diner, I believe?" He offers free legal consultations. My temporary waitressing job, 7 years and counting. How many opportunities had I declined because family needed me? The manager position I turned down last fall. The night classes I dropped when Bella needed transportation to her social events. "I have a friend," I say suddenly, surprising myself. "Jackie from work. She mentioned her spare room once." Officer Wilson nods. "Good. You shouldn't go back to that house tonight." My phone buzzes again, Dad calling. I silence it. "We'll need to get your car back," Officer Wilson continues. "I can escort you there tomorrow." The thought of facing them sends a wave of nausea through me, but I straighten my shoulders. Tonight. I want my car tonight. An hour later, we pull into my parents' driveway. My Chevy sits in its usual spot, dusty from the desert roads. Jackie waits in her Honda at the curb, a silent promise of sanctuary. Mom opens the door before we reach it, her practiced tears already flowing. "Odessa, thank goodness you're safe. We've been so worried." Behind her, Dad stands with his arms crossed. Bella peeks from the hallway, her expression unreadable. "Miss Isabella Matthews?" Officer Wilson's voice carries an authority I've never possessed. "I need to speak with you about abandoning your sister in a life-threatening situation." "It was just a misunderstanding," Mom interjects, reaching for my arm. I step back, her fingers grasping air. "We have the text messages, Mrs. Matthews," Officer Wilson says calmly. The color drains from her face. "I'm taking my car," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "And my things." "You can't just," Dad begins. "Actually, sir, she can." Officer Wilson interrupts. "The vehicle is registered in her name. Using it without permission is a criminal offense." Bella steps forward, tears welling in her eyes. "Dessa, I'm sorry. I didn't think." "Save it." I cut her off, the nickname I once loved now sounding like an insult. I saw the texts. 10 minutes later, and one small suitcase, I walk to my car, hands trembling as I unlock it. Officer Wilson supervises as I transfer my essential belongings into the backseat: clothes, documents, the small lockbox containing my savings passbook. When I slide behind the wheel, my hands grip the steering wheel like it's a lifeline. In the rearview mirror, I see my family frozen in the doorway, their perfect facade finally cracking, pressured by Officer Wilson. I drive away, following Jackie's taillights, toward a future suddenly, terrifyingly my own. 2 weeks later, after I move to my friend's house at work, the whispers follow me like a shadow through Martha's diner. They cling to the worn vinyl booths where I've served countless plates of meatloaf special, an apple pie a la mode for 7 years. "Did you hear about poor Marianne's daughter? Mrs. Caldwell's voice carries from table 8, intentionally loud enough for me to catch as I refill coffee mugs. Apparently she's having some sort of breakdown. Left home without a word." I steady the coffee pot, my knuckles white around the handle. 3 tables to go. Just keep pouring. "Well, after what happened in the desert," her companion replies, voice dropping to a theatrical whisper. "Frank at the sheriff's office said Bella's story checks out. The girl's been unstable for months." The coffee sloshes over the rim of a mug, narrowly missing Mr. Henderson's newspaper. He glances up, offering a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. "No worries, Odessa. Heard your folks are worried sick about you." The diner suddenly feels too small, the air too thick. 2 weeks since the desert, since Officer Wilson drove me to Jackie's apartment with my rescued car. 2 weeks of my mother's carefully cultivated stories spreading through our town of 8,000 souls. "More cream, please, Mr. Henderson adds, studying my face with uncomfortable intensity. I nod and retreat to the counter where Jackie works the register, her eyes tracking me with concern. "Vultures," she mutters. "All of them." The bell above the door jingles. My father steps inside, his Sunday suit pressed and perfect at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. The diner falls silent as conversations pause, forks hover midair, and every eye watches this public performance. "Odessa." His voice carries the weight of authority he's wielded my entire life. "Your mother hasn't slept since you left." 7 customers, 3 waitresses, and Martha herself all pretend not to listen. I feel my shoulders curve inward, the familiar posture of making myself smaller in his presence. "We need to talk, daughter. In private." I glance toward Martha, who stands with arms crossed behind the counter. She gives a subtle nod toward the back hallway. Permission to step away. More than that, permission to choose. "I'm working, Dad." My voice sounds foreign to my own ears, steady, certain. My shift ends at 4. His eyes narrow slightly, scanning the diner before returning to my face. "This isn't like you, Odessa. We raised you better than this." "Better than what exactly?" The words escape before I can trap them behind my teeth. A muscle twitches in his jaw. "Your mother is heartbroken." "I'm sorry to hear that. And part of me truly is." The dutiful daughter they cultivated still lives inside me, whispering that good girls don't cause their mothers pain. "We can discuss this at home. Where you belong." Home. The word lands like a fist. The house where my bedroom walls remained bare while Bella's overflowed with treasures. Where my paychecks disappeared into family emergencies that somehow always centered around my sister. My home is with Jackie right now. Dad's eyes harden. "Family stands by family, Odessa Lynn." "Yes." I meet his gaze squarely. "They do." The diner door jingles again, and my heart sinks as Bella enters, eyes red-rimmed and puffy. Her practiced vulnerability draws immediate sympathy from the room. My sister, who left me to die in the desert, now the picture of remorse in her pale blue sundress. "Odessa," she whispers, voice cracking perfectly. "Please." She approaches slowly, aware of our audience. My regular Tuesday customers watch with undisguised interest, the Matthews family drama playing out between the lunch and dinner rush. I've been trying to call you, Bella continues, tears spilling down her cheeks. I know what I did was terrible. I was scared and stupid, and I didn't think. I say nothing, feeling the weight of expectation from everyone watching. The script calls for forgiveness now, the magnanimous older sister embracing the prodigal younger one. I've been seeing someone, Bella continues, voice dropping. A therapist. I have. Issues with jealousy. With you having things I don't. Mr. Robertson at the counter nods approvingly. Mrs. Caldwell dabs at her eyes with a napkin. Please come home, Bella finishes, reaching for my hand. Mom needs you. Dad needs you. I need you. 7 years of waitressing have taught me to read people. This performance isn't for me, it's for our audience. For the whispers that will follow. Did you see how that poor girl begged for forgiveness while her sister just stood there like stone? I'm glad you're getting help, I say finally, stepping back from her touch. But I can't come home right now. Dad's face darkens. Your mother is a grown woman who'll manage? I interrupt, surprising myself again with this new voice, this new strength. I need to finish my shift. The car, he says quietly, deliberately. We've been making payments on it. A laugh escapes me before I can catch it, sharp and unexpected. No, Dad, you haven't. I reach beneath the counter for my bag, pulling out a worn folder I've carried every day since the desert. The physical weight of it in my hands gives me courage. I've kept everything, I tell him, opening the folder to reveal neat rows of payment receipts spanning 7 years. Every shift, every tip, every payment. It's all documented. The shock that flashes across his face is worth every paper cut from organizing these records late at night at Jackie's kitchen table. Worth every hour spent with Judge Martin learning about financial manipulation and documentation. This is ridiculous, Dad sputters. We're your family. Yes, you are. I close the folder gently. And this is my boundary. The diner has gone completely silent. I feel Jackie move to stand beside me, her presence solid and sure. I think you should leave now, Martha says, from behind the counter, her voice brooking no argument. Odessa has customers waiting. Dad's face reddens. Bella's tears dry up remarkably fast as she realizes her performance has failed. This isn't over, Dad says quietly. Actually, I reply, it is. After they leave, Martha puts her hand on my shoulder. Take 10 minutes, then table 12 needs more coffee. In the back hallway, I lean against the wall, my heart hammering against my ribs. My phone buzzes with a text from Officer Wilson. Just checking in. You safe? I type back. Yes, they came to the diner. I'm okay. Another buzz. Judge Martin this time. My daughter Sarah has a room opening in her duplex. $650 month. Utilities included. Interested? I stare at the message, at the possibility of walls that are truly mine. My hands shake as I open the paralegal course website Judge Martin showed me last week when he came to my work. The application deadline is tomorrow. The classes would fit around my diner shifts. For the first time since the desert, I allow myself to imagine a life beyond this town, beyond the whispers, beyond the constant pull of family obligation, a life where no is a complete sentence, where boundaries aren't declarations of war but simple statements of fact. I type back to Judge Martin. Very interested. When can I see it? 10 minutes later, I return to the diner floor, coffee pot in hand. Mrs. Caldwell and her friend fall silent as I approach their table. More coffee? I ask, my voice steady. Mrs. Caldwell studies my face, searching for cracks. Your poor mother called me this morning. She's beside herself with worry. I pour the coffee precisely to the rim, not a drop spilled this time. That's between her and her therapist, I imagine. Her mouth opens, then closes. I move to the next table, feeling something unfamiliar stretching through me. Not quite peace, not quite power, but something close to both, growing stronger with each step I take. A week later, I decided to fully escape from my family, so I came to collect all the things that are left at the house. The police cruiser idles at the curb, a silent guardian as I slide the last box into Jackie's hatchback. Officer Wilson stands with arms crossed, his presence transforming my childhood home into unfamiliar territory. Need anything else from inside, Miss Matthews? He asks, sunlight glinting off his badge. Just one more thing. My footsteps echo through rooms, suddenly small and foreign. In my bedroom, stripped of everything except the furniture that was never truly mine, I run my fingers along the windowsill, where I once pressed my forehead against cool glass, dreaming of escape. The walls hold 17 years of whispered plans, of calculations scribbled by flashlight, of promises I made to myself while Bella's laughter floated from downstairs. Mom appears in the doorway, her face arranged in the expression that once paralyzed me with guilt. "Odessa, please, we can talk about this like adults." I say nothing, moving past her with measured steps. "Your father hasn't slept since you left," she calls after me. "Is that what you wanted?" The words slide off me like rainwater. My silence is unfamiliar to her, a language she can't manipulate. In the living room, Dad paces near the fireplace, while Bella perches on the couch, mascara-smudged eyes watching my every move. "That car contains personal gifts I purchased," Bella announces as I reach the door. "I should at least get those back." I turn, finally meeting her gaze. "Itemize them. Send the list to Officer Wilson. With receipts." Her mouth opens, then closes. We both know no such receipts exist. Outside, I slide into Jackie's passenger seat. Through the windshield, I watch my family's tableau, 3 figures framed in the doorway, suddenly powerless without my participation in their drama. "Done?" Jackie asks, starting the engine. "Done." 40 minutes later, I sit cross-legged on Jackie's floor, laptop balanced on my knees. My finger hovers over the button, hesitating only briefly before clicking publish. The car listing goes live, priced just below market value to guarantee a quick sale. I close my eyes, breathing deeply as I create a new email address, separating my digital identity from the one my family knows. That night, my phone vibrates against the hardwood floor. Dad's number. I silence it without looking at the message, adding it to the growing collection of unheard threats and manipulations. "Your father called the landlord," Jackie says, appearing in the doorway with 2 mugs of coffee. "Tried claiming you have outstanding debts that make you a rental risk." I accept the coffee, unsurprised. "What did Mr. Grayson say?" "Told your dad he's known you since you were 16 bussing tables, and maybe he should worry more about his own credit score." She grins, sitting beside me. Small towns cut both ways. My phone lights up again, Mom's number. Against better judgment, I glance at the message preview. "Emergency room. Please call. It's serious." 10 minutes pass. 20. My hands shake slightly, muscle memory of decades of urgent family summons, but I continue typing job application answers, letting the phone sit untouched. An hour later, it buzzes with a text from my cousin Sarah. "For your information, your mom's fine. Playing bridge at Aunt Linda's. Thought you should know." The knot in my stomach loosens. Another test failed. Morning brings unexpected allies. My regular customers at the diner have formed a protective circle after Bella's tearful performance yesterday. My sister posted a heartbreaking message on Facebook but got laughed at. "Mrs. Abernathy" stops me between coffee refills, her weathered hand catching mine. "Heard about that social media nonsense your sister posted," she says. "Don't you worry. We set the record straight at Bible study." Days later, the pastor's wife pointedly asks about my desert ordeal, while Bella stands frozen at the pharmacy counter. Officer Wilson mentions the abandonment case at the hardware store, where Dad buys his fishing gear. Judge Martin speaks quietly with our church elders about troubling family patterns after Sunday service. The town's invisible communication network, once weaponized against me, now carries a different current. Then one Monday morning, my phone chimes with an email notification. The car sold. Full asking price, cash, pickup tomorrow. My ticket to Phoenix made real. 30 minutes later, a court clerk calls. "Miss Matthews, your restraining order hearing has been moved up." Judge Franklin reviewed the evidence, particularly the prior driving incidents. "It's been granted." I hang up, hands steady for the first time in weeks. 2 hours later, another call, my potential employer in Phoenix. "We'd like to offer you the position," the HR director says. "Actually, we can do a bit better than the salary we discussed." That evening, Dad calls from an unfamiliar number. His voice lacks its usual resonance when I answer. "We should negotiate," he says, the word foreign in his mouth. "Come to some arrangement that works for everyone." I watch the sunset through Jackie's kitchen window, the same Arizona sky that witnessed my abandonment now bearing witness to my rebirth. "There's nothing to negotiate," I tell him quietly. I'm not asking for anything from you anymore. I end the call as Mom's church friend Elaine texts. Thinking of you. Missed your mother at the fundraiser tonight. Several people asking questions. Their world is shrinking just as mine expands. The scales rebalancing, finally and completely. A week later, on Tuesday afternoon, after I finish the shift, the letter trembles in my hand as I read it again, the handwriting unmistakably belonging to Mrs. Pearson, our family friend of 20 years. Your father's heart condition has worsened with the stress. The doctor says family healing is critical to his recovery. Your mother promises things will be different now. Please come for one last family dinner before you leave town, Thursday at 6. I fold the paper along its creases and tuck it into my pocket. The familiar weight of manipulation settles in my stomach, but something has changed. The sensation no longer cripples me. I have called the doctor to check my father's condition, and the doctor confirmed he hasn't seen my dad in months. You don't have to go, Jackie says from her position on the couch, feet propped on a coffee table scattered with paralegal textbooks. That's the thing about boundaries. You get to enforce them. Ow. I know. I zip my overnight bag shut. Phoenix awaits on Friday, new apartment, new job, new life. But I need this. For me. Jackie twirls her car keys. I'll wait outside. First sign of trouble, I'm coming in with air horns and confetti. I just nod and finalize packing. On Thursday evening, the drive to my childhood home passes in silence. Each landmark, we pass the diner where I worked double shifts, the bank where I deposited every tip, the high school where Bella was homecoming queen while I worked weekends, feels like turning pages in a book I've finally finished reading. Jackie parks across the street. You've got this, she says, squeezing my hand. Remember what Judge Martin said. Don't engage with emotional manipulation. Stick to facts. I recite the words that have become my mantra. And I deserve peace. My parents' house looks smaller somehow. The front door opens before I reach it, my mother appearing with arms outstretched, wearing the yellow cardigan she saves for church and family photos. Odessa, she whispers, voice thick with rehearsed emotion. You came. I step past her embrace, for closure, not reconciliation. The dining room tableau could win awards for calculated nostalgia. My father sits at the head of the table, his face arranged in a mask of patriarchal concern. Bella occupies her usual place at his right hand, eyes red-rimmed and darting nervously toward me. My childhood favorites crowd the table: fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. Photo albums stand propped against the centerpiece. A medical prescription bottle sits prominently near my father's water glass. Sit down, Odessa. Dad gestures to my old spot. Family dinner isn't complete without everyone present. I remain standing, clutching the folder I brought. How's your heart condition, Dad? His hand reflexively touches his chest. The doctor says stress is the primary factor. Interesting. I set my folder on the table. Because I called Dr. Winters 2 days ago. He hasn't seen you in 8 months, and your last checkup showed perfect cardiac health. The silence expands like desert heat. Dad recovers first. Blood is thicker than water, Odessa. Whatever issues we've had. That's not even the correct quote. I interrupt. The full proverb is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means, chosen relationships are stronger than forced family ties. It means, Bella pushes forward, tears spilling. I was jealous of your independence. The way you always knew what you wanted. I'm so sorry about the desert. I didn't come for apologies. I open my folder. I came because I needed to understand why. One by one, I lay out my evidence. A childhood calendar color-coded to show Bella's activities versus my chores. Bank statements highlighting thousands spent on her while I worked. Psychology articles about golden child, scapegoat dynamics, highlighted passages glowing under the dining room light. What is all this? Mother's voice wavers. Documentation. I tap the folder. Every missed school event because someone needed to help at home. Every time my car was borrowed without permission. Every family emergency that mysteriously coincided with my job interviews. My father's face darkens. You kept records? Against your own family? I kept records because no one else acknowledged my reality. My voice remained steady, surprising even me. I needed to prove to myself I wasn't crazy. My mother rises, hands fluttering. After all we've done for you. That's exactly the problem. The words flow without rehearsal. You've never seen what I've done for you. The double shifts, the canceled plans, the dreams deferred. You called it family duty when it benefited you and selfishness when it benefited me. Bella reaches for my hand across the table. I step back. I'm not here for reconciliation. I say, meeting each pair of eyes. I'm here for closure. I release you from any obligation to me, and myself from any obligation to you. I place my house key on the table. The small brass key that once represented home now symbolizes a door I'm choosing to close. What about Christmas? What about Christmas? My mother asks, voice small. Thanksgiving? I'll be with people who respect my boundaries. I gather my documentation, sliding it back into the folder with calm precision. I wish you healing. All of you. My father stands, anger replacing his calculated concern. If you walk out that door, you'll what? I ask, genuinely curious. Abandon me in the desert? Take my car? Question my worth? You've already done your worst. Bella sobs into her hands. My mother clutches her cardigan, and my father towers with impotent rage. The scene should devastate me. Instead, I feel a curious lightness. Goodbye, I say simply. I walk out without tears or drama, closing the door with gentle finality. The night air fills my lungs with something that feels remarkably like freedom. Jackie waits in her car, window rolled down. You did it, she says, hand warm on my shoulder. I did. I look back at the house one last time. Now I can start. We drive away from the past toward tomorrow's horizon. For the first time in 25 years, my shoulders carry only their own weight. 6 months later, the morning sun streams through gauzy curtains. I picked myself, painting golden patterns across my small Phoenix apartment. I trace my fingers over the paralegal textbook on my desk, neon highlighter marks transforming legal jargon into stepping stones toward my future. My first office paycheck, still in its envelope, is pinned to the corkboard above, tangible proof that waitressing at Rosie's Diner is finally behind me. I pause before dialing the phone company. One deep breath, then another. I'd like to change my number permanently, I tell the customer service representative, my voice steady. When she asks if I want to notify anyone of the change, I simply say, no thank you. The small click as I hang up feels monumental. 6 months later, I'm driving my new-to-me Honda along that same stretch of desert highway. The steering wheel feels different under my hands, this car purchased with my own money, chosen for reliability rather than someone else's approval. I recognize the mile marker where Bella abandoned me, but today I pull over by choice. The Arizona sunset transforms the landscape into a watercolor painting, crimson and gold washing over sand and cacti. I step out, boots crunching on gravel, and breathe deeply. The vastness that once terrified me now feels like possibility stretching toward the horizon. You're making progress, doctor. Schaefer told me during yesterday's therapy session. Boundaries aren't walls, they're healthy definitions of where you end and others begin. Those boundaries have allowed me to build something new. Tuesday potlucks with coworkers, weekend hikes with Phoenix locals who've become friends. Sunday afternoons volunteering at Desert Bloom Women's Shelter, where I sit across from women whose eyes mirror what mine once held. I understand feeling trapped, I tell them, and mean it. Last Christmas, instead of forcing myself through another performance of family harmony, I drove to Jackie's parents' house 3 hours north. Her mother hugged me without expectation. Her father carved the turkey without commentary on my life choices. They asked questions and actually listened to my answers. The apartment buzzer interrupts my memories of the desert, my housewarming gathering modest but meaningful. Officer Wilson arrives first, having driven up from my hometown with Judge Martin. Place looks good, Wilson says, handing me a potted cactus. Suits you strong, independent? Martha from the diner bustles in bearing her famous apple pie. Finally, she says, squeezing my hand. Someone appreciated your worth. Later, glasses raised in my living room, Judge Martin offers a toast to new beginnings and found family. The support group I started meets Thursdays in the community center. Family Scapegoats Anonymous sounds dramatic, but the relief on people's faces when they realize they're not alone is worth any awkwardness. Last week, I received an anonymous letter from my hometown. Watching you stand up for yourself gave me courage to do the same. When Bella's number appears on my phone after she begged Jackie for it, I answer calmly. I listen to her explanations, her tentative olive branch. I wish you healing, I tell her when she finally pauses, but my boundaries remain. The simple peace I feel hanging up surprises me. Their approval or lack thereof no longer defines me. Today, driving with the windows down along the open highway, wind tangling my hair, I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman looking back has strength in her eyes and peace in her smile. The desert stretches endless and beautiful around me, no longer a trap but a testament to how far I've come. What would you have done in Odessa's place? Would you have pressed charges against your sister, or was the restraining order enough?
I stand in our living room, the polyester of my graduation gown making my skin itch in the June heat. The ceiling fan whirs overhead, stirring the air but providing little relief. Across from me, Lauren adjusts her cap, our tassels swinging in unison identical in appearance, yet worlds apart in significance. Girls, look this way. Mom's voice rings out with practiced enthusiasm as she positions her camera. But her eyes, I notice, linger on Lauren a beat longer, the familiar warmth reserved for my sister alone. The living room has been transformed into a shrine of academic accomplishment. Cream and gold streamers hang from the ceiling, and a large Congratulations Graduates banner stretches across the fireplace mantel. I can't help but notice how the decorations cluster more densely on Lauren's side, as if gravity itself favors her. Dad places his hand on Lauren's shoulder, squeezing it with pride. "My girls," he says, but his palm doesn't reach for me. I stand slightly apart, as I have for most of my life, connected by blood and circumstance, separated by everything else. Our relatives and family friends mill about, filling plates with catered food and offering congratulations. Aunt Rebecca catches my eye from across the room and gives me a genuine smile. At least someone sees me. "All right, everyone." Dad claps his hands, drawing attention. "Time for the gifts." The chatter dies down as Dad wheels in a large box wrapped in gleaming silver paper with an enormous red bow. My heart quickens despite myself. After years of disappointment, I still harbor that childish hope. Maybe today will be different. Maybe graduation will finally be the equalizer. "This one's for Lauren," Dad announces, beaming as he places the massive package in front of my sister. Lauren's hands fly to her mouth in a theatrical gasp that seems rehearsed. She tears at the paper with practiced excitement, revealing a smaller box inside. When she opens it, she lets out a squeal that makes my ears ring. "Car keys?" She jumps up and down. "You didn't." "We did," Mom says, glowing with satisfaction. "It's parked right outside." The guests collectively move toward the large bay window. Outside sits a gleaming white Mercedes-Benz with a massive red bow on the hood. "The class," Dad explains to our uncle, loud enough for everyone to hear, "ran us about $55,000, but nothing's too good for our star." The impressed murmurs ripple through the crowd. I stand frozen, still waiting, still hoping. And for Violet, Dad says, almost as an afterthought. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a simple white envelope. The room quiets as he hands it to me. It's too light for a set of car keys, too light for anything substantial. Still, I accept it with steady hands, carefully opening the seal while every eye in the room watches. Inside is not a congratulatory card, not a check, not even a gift certificate. It's a bill, itemized in my father's precise handwriting. 4 years of car insurance, $8,400. Contribution to household utilities, $7,200. Computer equipment, $5,500. Miscellaneous family expenses, $8,900. Total, $30,000. "We thought you'd appreciate this approach, Violet," Mom says, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "You've always been so practical." The room spins slightly. I stare at the numbers, each one a confirmation of what I've always known but never wanted to believe. My trembling fingers betray me, though I fight to keep my face composed. A memory flashes. Christmas morning, age 10. Lauren unwrapping the latest gaming console while I received sensible clothes for school. My parents explaining that some children need extras to thrive, while others are naturally self-sufficient. Another flash. 15 years old, teaching myself coding from library books in my bedroom. The sounds of my parents driving away to attend Lauren's debate tournament echoing in my ears. Then at 17, my first freelance job completed at 2 a.m., the payment confirmation bringing tears of pride to my eyes, pride no one else would share. Family responsibility, Dad is saying now, his explanation clearly rehearsed. We've supported you both equally, but differently. Lauren needs different things to succeed in life. Lauren, already texting friends about her new car, glances up with a dismissive shrug. You always say money doesn't matter to you, Vi. From across the room, Aunt Rebecca's eyes meet mine. Her concerned glance is the only acknowledgement that something terribly wrong has happened. I feel it then a flash of white-hot hurt that burns through my chest. I quickly mask it with the composure I've perfected over years of similar moments. But something has shifted. Something has broken. I carefully refold the bill and return it to its envelope. Thank you for this, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. It's a real eye-opener. No one seems to notice the weight of my words. The party continues around me, as guests drift outside to admire Lauren's Mercedes. I stand alone in the center of the living room, invisible as always. I slip upstairs to my bedroom while congratulatory exclamations float up from the driveway. Inside, I close the door quietly and pull my pre-packed suitcase from beneath the bed. I'd prepared it last week, a precaution, a suspicion, an escape route I'd hoped I wouldn't need. As I place the last few items inside, I hear Lauren revving the engine of her new car, the sound of freedom that was given to her, while I am expected to pay for the privilege of having existed in this house. Today was supposed to be our day, but then it never really was our anything. I zip the suitcase closed. It contains everything I truly need. And what I need most right now is to leave. Morning sunlight filters through the thin blinds of my new apartment. The space is small, but truly mine. I sit at the edge of the bed, my fingertips tracing the worn cotton of unfamiliar sheets. My phone buzzes for the 4th time this morning. Catherine. That's how I think of her now, not Mom. Names create distance, and distance is what I need. I let it ring until silence fills the room again. 11 missed calls, I murmur, scrolling through the notifications. 3 from Catherine, 4 from Richard, and 4 from Lauren. The timestamps show escalating concern or perhaps inconvenience. The first calls came around 9 last night, casual in their spacing. By midnight, they were coming every 20 minutes. By this morning, panic had set in. I imagine the scene at home, Catherine discovering my empty bedroom, the closet cleared of essentials, dresser drawers half empty. Richard dismissing it with a wave of his hand. She's just being dramatic. She'll be back. Lauren would have claimed my bedroom before noon. The larger space, the better view, a prize she's coveted since childhood. I can see her hauling armfuls of designer clothes across the hallway before my sheets even cooled. My phone buzzes with a text message from Catherine. Violet, this tantrum has gone on long enough. We're worried. Please call. The word tantrum ignites something in my chest, a flash of heat that confirms I've made the right decision. 22 years old, college graduate, and still my emotions are dismissed as childish outbursts. A knock at my door interrupts my thoughts. I tense, wondering if they've tracked me down already. I peer through the peephole to see Aunt Rebecca's concerned face. I brought muffins, she says when I open the door, holding up a paper bag that smells of cinnamon and nutmeg. Her eyes take in the sparse apartment, the secondhand furniture, the single suitcase still partially unpacked in the corner. Oh, Violet. How did you find me? I ask, accepting the bag. I've known you since you were born. You're methodical. You'd want to stay close enough to maintain your client relationships, but far enough to avoid accidental encounters. She settles onto my only chair. You also used my address for your freelance business mail 2 years ago. It wasn't hard to guess you'd choose Oakwood Apartments. I sit across from her on the edge of my bed. Did they send you? They don't know I'm here. She hesitates, her fingers twisting the strap of her purse. There's something you should know. Lauren, she knew about the bill beforehand. The muffin turns to sawdust in my mouth. What? She told me not to warn you. Said you wouldn't mind, that you'd just handle it like always. For the first time since graduation, I feel the careful wall I've built begin to crack. My sister wasn't just a beneficiary of her parents' favoritism. She was complicit in their scheme. The betrayal cuts deeper than I expected. I see. I manage, swallowing hard. Rebecca reaches for my hand. You're not coming back, are you? No. The word carries surprising weight finality without regret. After Rebecca leaves, I throw myself into establishing my new life with the same methodical focus that got me through college. I arranged my minimal possessions with care laptop on the small desk by the window, clothes hung precisely in the closet, toiletries aligned on the bathroom shelf. Each item has purpose, nothing extraneous. I spend the afternoon expanding my client list, sending professional emails from my independent domain rather than the family's shared account. By evening, I have 2 new projects that will cover next month's rent. My phone continues to vibrate. I silence it without looking. That night, I lie in bed, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling. Traffic sounds drift through the window so different from the suburban quiet of my parents' home. Sirens wail in the distance. A couple argues in the apartment above. Yet despite the noise, despite the strange surroundings, I feel something unexpected. Relief. It comes in waves, this strange liberation. No one will walk into my room unannounced. No one will comment on my clothing choices or work schedule. No one will expect me to solve their problems or finance their whims. The weight of constant comparison has lifted from my shoulders. In the days that follow, allies emerge from unexpected places. Aunt Rebecca becomes my reluctant messenger, bringing news from the family without pressure to return. My online clients remain blissfully unaware of my personal drama, valuing me solely for my skills. Mrs. Abernathy, the elderly woman in apartment 3C, brings me a houseplant on my 3rd day. I left my husband of 40 years when I was 62, she tells me, setting the potted fern on my windowsill. Some family ties need pruning for new growth to happen. Margot, the owner of the coffee shop downstairs, starts saving the corner table for me each morning. The quiet one with the computer, he calls me, sliding free refills my way with a paternal wink. 1 week into my self-imposed exile, the text messages from my parents grow desperate. Catherine, sweetheart, we just want to check in. Why aren't you answering? Richard, Violet, this has gone on long enough. We need to talk. Then the manipulation begins in earnest. Catherine, we're struggling without you. You know we've always supported you. Richard, your sister is asking about you. Don't you think you're being selfish? I read each message carefully, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Instead, I simply leave the read receipts as my only acknowledgement. Let them see that I've read their words. Let them wonder why I choose silence. Let them feel, for once, what it's like to be ignored. 2 months of silence feels like power in my hands. I check my bank account on my lunch break, me latest deposit clearing, without the usual dread of calculating what portion my parents would expect me to contribute to family expenses. The number grows steadily, unmolested by others' needs. My phone buzzes with the 7th voicemail this week. I don't need to listen to know its contents. They've evolved from Catherine's concerned, just checking in, sweetheart, to increasingly desperate pleas about bills and financial difficulties. Richard's messages carry the edge of command that once would have sent me scrambling to solve whatever crisis had emerged. I delete without listening. There's a certain peace in that simple action. My tiny apartment has begun to feel like mine in ways the larger family home never did. A secondhand desk positioned perfectly beneath the window. A bookshelf filled with computer manuals I no longer have to hide between classic novels to avoid comments about always working. The absence of Lauren's mess spilling past invisible boundary lines. The quiet when I want it quiet. The coffee shop beneath my apartment has become a sanctuary of sorts. Margot, the owner, nods as I settle into my usual corner table. Your father came by yesterday, he mentions casually, placing my usual order before me. Quite insistent about knowing your apartment number. My stomach tightens. What did you tell him? Margot's weathered face creases with a smile. that we respect our customers' privacy. He didn't take it well. I wrap my hands around the warm mug. Thank you. Family's complicated, Marco says with the wisdom of his 60-plus years. But it should never be combat. At my desk that evening, I open the most recent email from a tech company needing database work. The offer is larger than any contract I've handled before. My fingers hover over the keyboard, old habits whispering that I should consult with Richard first. But Richard never consulted me before presenting me with a bill for my existence. I accept the contract without seeking anyone's approval but my own. Later, I find myself leafing through a small notebook I've kept since I was 15. Each page documents instances of imbalance. Christmas gifts with approximate values. School events attended or missed. Praise given or withheld. Financial support offered or denied. The clinical accounting of a child trying to understand why love seemed to flow so naturally toward one daughter while requiring justification for the other. I'd never shown it to anyone, partly from shame at appearing so petty. Now I recognize it wasn't pettiness but self-preservation documentation against the gaslighting that accompanied every confrontation about unequal treatment. You're exaggerating. We support you both equally, just differently. Lauren needs more encouragement to succeed. The knocking startles me. 3 sharp raps, followed by a familiar voice. V, I know you're in there. Lauren, my twin, my opposite, my lifelong competitor for resources I never wanted to compete for. I opened the door to find her looking smaller somehow. The confident posture she'd perfected at 16 seems diminished. Her designer Percy high school graduation gift hangs from her arm, but her usual polished appearance shows cracks. They sold the car, she announces without preamble, pushing past me into the apartment. The Mercedes. Are you happy now? I closed the door quietly, watching her survey my modest living space with something between pity and confusion. Why would that make me happy? I ask, genuinely curious about the workings of her mind. Because you were jealous. She drops onto my secondhand couch. You always were. I wasn't jealous of the car, Lauren. I was hurt by what it represented that they'd spend $55,000 on you while handing me a bill for $30,000. Her eyes flicker with something perhaps the first glimmer of understanding. They sold it at a loss, she continues. $17,000 down the drain. Dad says it's your fault they had to act so desperately. A strange calm settles over me. Now you know what it feels like. What feels like? To have something taken from you. The words land between us with physical weight. Lauren's expression shifts, comprehension dawning in slow, painful increments. They're really struggling, Vi, she says, her voice smaller. The credit card bills were higher than they let on. Dad says they were counting on your savings. My savings? I interrupt, the calm fracturing slightly. The money I earned teaching myself coding while you were at debate tournaments they drove you to? The money I made at night after finishing the chores they assigned primarily to me? That savings? Lauren examines her manicured fingernails. They said you owed. I know exactly what they said. They've been saying it my entire life without speaking the words directly. My purpose was to make everyone else's life easier. A knock at my door interrupts whatever Lauren might have replied. When I open it, Aunt Rebecca stands there, a small box in her arms. I salvaged what I could, she says, glancing past me to see Lauren. Oh, I didn't realize you had company. Just my sister, I say, taking the box. Inside are childhood momentous me high school academic awards, childhood drawings, the small robotics trophy I'd won in 9th grade that had been relegated to the basement, while Lauren's debate trophies lined the hallway. They're purging, Aunt Rebecca explains. Selling things. I didn't want these to disappear. Lauren rises from the couch. Things are bad, Vi, really bad. Her eyes shine with unshed tears. Look, I know I've never said this before, but I'm sorry. For a lot of things. They're talking about selling the house, and I just thought, maybe you could help. Not for them, but for me. The request hangs in the air, couched as an apology, yet still asking me to sacrifice. The familiar family dynamic reasserting itself. just with different words. No, I say, the single syllable carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken ones from my past. Lauren blinks. What? I said no, I won't rescue them. Or you. I set Aunt Rebecca's box on my desk. I spent my whole life solving problems I didn't create. I'm done. After they leave Lauren in teary indignation, Aunt Rebecca, with a gentle squeeze of my hand, I finally allow myself to cry. Not the controlled, private tears I'd perfected in childhood, but deep, body-shaking sobs that feel like excavation, like archaeology of buried pain. I cry for the child who kept a notebook documenting her own diminishment, for the teenager who believed that if she just worked harder, she'd earn the love freely given to her sister, for the young adult who received a bill instead of congratulations on her graduation day. My phone rings as the tears subside, Aunt Rebecca's name on the screen. They're selling the house, she says without greeting. They have no choice now. The family home, the site of 1,000 small wounds and occasional moments of joy, the physical space that contained my systematic erasure. And I manage, unsure what she expects from me. Your father listed it this morning. Below market value, needing a quick sale. She pauses. With what you've saved in that new contract, you could buy it, Violet. You could buy your family home. The irony lands like a physical blow. Me purchasing the very house my parents never fully allowed me to belong in. Why would I want it? I ask, voice steady despite the storm inside. I don't know, Aunt Rebecca answers honestly. Revenge? Healing? Closure? Or maybe just because you can. After we hang up, I sit in the growing darkness of my apartment, weighing power against peace, justice against freedom. The choice before me isn't really about real estate at all. It's about whether taking back your power means using it the way it was used against you, or forging something entirely new from the ashes of what was taken. I sit cross-legged on my apartment floor, surrounded by spreadsheets and financial projections. The mid-morning sun streams through my single window, catching dust motes in its beam. My laptop screen displays my savings account balance, a number that has grown steadily since I left home 6 months ago. Enough to buy the family house if I wanted to. My phone buzzes with another notification. Catherine, I've stopped thinking of her as mom. In my private thought shiz, sent her 3rd email this week. The subject line reads, "This was your home too, don't you care?" The automatic filter I created sends it straight to a folder I check only on Sundays when I'm emotionally prepared. I've set similar boundaries for texts and voicemails. Technology serving as the barrier my parents never allowed me to build. I return to my calculations. The money I've saved, properly invested, will secure my own future. Not theirs. Not Lauren's. Mine. A knock at my door breaks my concentration. Aunt Rebecca stands in the hallway, holding a cardboard box. "Just a few things I thought you might want," she says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Your science fair medals, that journal from middle school, some photographs." I accept the box with a nod. "Thank you." Rebecca surveys my small apartment with approving eyes. "You've made this place your own." "I've made me my own," I correct her. She settles onto my secondhand couch. "They're selling below market value. The realtor says they're desperate to close quickly." I don't respond. We've established rules about these conversations. She can share information, but I won't discuss my reactions or plans. "Richard's been trying to spin a story around town," she continues, her voice measured. "That you abandoned the family when they needed you most." Something flickers in my chest, not hurt, but a cold anger. And it's backfiring spectacularly. A hint of satisfaction crosses her face. "Mrs. Holloway at church cornered me last Sunday. Said she always noticed how they treat you differently. How at your high school graduation party, they spent 20 minutes praising Lauren's B+ in calculus while never mentioning your scholarship." I look away. People notice more than you think they do. The Crawfords dropped Catherine from their dinner party circuit. The Hendersons are suddenly busy whenever Richard calls. She leans forward. "The community's choosing sides, Violet. And they're not choosing them. I never asked for that." "You didn't have to." Rebecca straightens a stack of books on my coffee table. "The truth has a way of emerging. 3 days later, Marco waves me over to a corner table at his coffee shop. His daughter Elisa slides a freshly baked scone across to me. On the house, she insists, her protective instinct matching her father's. Your parents made quite a scene at the farmer's market yesterday, Marco says, keeping his voice low. Richard blamed Catherine for allowing you to leave. She blamed him for the car purchase. Very public, very ugly. I focus on breaking my scone into precise, even pieces. Richard doesn't look well, Elisa adds. Gray, thin. My mother says it's stress. I don't respond. Their health isn't my responsibility anymore. Marco places his weathered hand over mine. 3 new clients called asking for your consulting services. Word's getting around about your work. His coffee shop has become an unofficial headquarters. Clients find me here. Friends check in. A surrogate family forms around steaming mugs and quiet conversations. That evening, Mrs. Abernathy knocks on my door, her financial advisor in tow. This young lady helped me secure my retirement, she says, introducing the sharp-eyed woman beside her. She can help you make that money work for you instead of just sitting in savings. By the time they leave, I have an investment strategy that will triple my earnings over 5 years. 6 months after graduation day, I sign the papers on a small house 3 neighborhoods away from where I grew up. It's modest but mine, purchased with money I earned and saved. The afternoon I move in, Lauren calls. I need a loan, she says without preamble. Her voice lacks its former confidence, the golden shine tarnished by reality, just until I find something steady. And what are you doing to find something steady? I ask, unpacking dishes in my new kitchen. I have an interview tomorrow. The admission comes reluctantly. Retail. Nothing like what I was supposed to have. The Mercedes was what you were supposed to have too. I say, neither cruel nor comforting. How's that working out? Silence stretches between us. I start training next week, she finally says. Mom and Dad keep fighting about money. Dad's blood pressure is so high his doctor called twice last week. I absorb this information without comment. Mom called Aunt Rebecca crying yesterday. Said she never realized what they'd done until they had to do everything themselves. Too little, too late. But I don't say that either. The family's falling apart, Vi, Lauren whispers. Without you holding us all together. After we hang up, I find a cream envelope in my mail. Inside, a handwritten letter in Catherine's flowing script. We know we lost you, the final paragraph reads, and that's a price far greater than any car or debt. I read it twice before placing it in my desk drawer. Unmoved. Words cost nothing. Actions built this wall between us. The next morning brings another envelope, this one bearing Mrs. Abernathy's neat handwriting. Inside, formal legal language catches my eye. I read it twice to be sure I understand. I've updated my will. The accompanying note states plainly, I never had children who appreciated me, but I see myself in you, Violet. The papers indicate a future inheritance, her house, her investments, her carefully tended garden. Security beyond what I could have imagined last June when I packed a single suitcase and walked away from family obligation. That night, from my front porch, I watched the neighborhood settle into evening routines. Through windows, I glimpsed families gathering for dinner, ordinary moments I once craved. But in the quiet of my own home, I find something better than what I lost. Recognition from someone who sees my true worth. Have you noticed how often the people who truly value us aren't blood relatives at all? Why do you think it takes a family crisis for some parents to recognize their children's true worth? The certified letter sits on my kitchen counter, its official markings like a poison label. I've stared at it for 20 minutes. The sender's information, Greenfield and Associates, attorneys at law, burning into my retinas. When I finally slice it open, the absurdity of its contents nearly makes me laugh. Formal notice of claim against earnings. Family investment in your education. Reasonable expectation of financial contribution. The legal jargon continues for 3 pages. But the message is clear. My parents want a piece of my success. The business I built from scratch, the clients I earned through late nights, and self-taught skills, they're claiming it as dividends on their investment. My phone vibrates. Lauren's name flashes on the screen, the third call today. Against my better judgment, I answer. V? Her voice sounds small, nothing like the confident sister who once accepted a Mercedes without a second thought. They've done something terrible. Dad hired a lawyer. I know. The envelope crinkles in my hand. I received the letter this morning. I tried to talk them out of it. A catch in her throat suggests tears. They're telling everyone you abandoned us, that you owe them. I close my eyes, not surprised, but still feeling the sting. And what do you think, Lauren? The silence stretches between us like a tightrope. I think they're desperate, she finally admits. The house is gone. Dad's credit is ruined. They're living in a 2-bedroom apartment off Mapleton Road. The address registers not far from where I started after graduation day. The symmetry would be satisfying if it weren't so sad. This legal claim. Lauren continues, her voice steadying. It's garbage, Vi. Pure garbage. They know it too. Aunt Rebecca's living room feels like neutral territory, though her eyes telegraph worry as she pours me tea. Outside, fall leaves scatter across her lawn, red-gold like warning flags. Your mother's been calling the family, she says, settling into her armchair. Thanksgiving is in 3 weeks, and she's working the phone like a politician. I cup my hands around the warm mug. What's she saying? That you've forgotten where you came from. That family stands by family. Rebecca's mouth tightens. Your cousin Michael asked if that was the same family that handed you a bill on graduation day. A small satisfaction warms my chest. Words getting around. Yes, well. Rebecca adjusts the throw pillow, avoiding my eyes. People are taking sides, Violet. Your father's sister isn't speaking to me because I wouldn't condemn you at church. She pauses. The annual Hawthorne family Christmas photo is scheduled for December 1st. Your mother mentioned pointedly that you'll be noticeably absent. The Christmas photo tradition stretching back to my grandparents' generation. My absence will speak volumes. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle, I tell her, meaning it. Rebecca reaches for my hand. Don't be. Some middles are worth standing in. My attorney's office smells of leather and lemon polish. Clarissa Wu reviews the letter one final time, her experienced eyes narrowing at certain passages. This is legally indefensible, she states, setting it down with a decisive tap. No court would entertain the notion that parents are entitled to their adult child's earnings as repayment for raising them. I've brought my documentation leather portfolio containing years of financial records. Every inequity meticulously noted. Lauren's car insurance paid while mine wasn't. My computer equipment purchased from my own savings while Lauren's came as gifts. College application fees covered for one twin, but not the other. We could countersue, Clarissa continues, flipping through my records with raised eyebrows. Emotional distress. There's certainly evidence of differential treatment. The thought of dragging my family through court, exposing our private pain for public consumption, sits like a stone in my stomach. What's the alternative? Clarissa closes the portfolio. Sometimes the most effective response isn't legal at all. The letter takes me 3 days to write. I check each fact twice, strip away accusatory language, and focus on documenting the timeline. No editorializing, just events. When I attach a copy of the graduation bill, $30,000 of itemized family expenses, the narrative needs no embellishment. I send it to my extended family, my parents' close friends, and the church community that has been my parents' social circle for decades. The final paragraph offers Lauren assistance with job searching and career counseling, should she want it. I don't send it to hurt them. I send it because the truth, plainly stated, is the only defense I have against their revisionist history. The responses come like rainfall after drought, first a few drops, then a downpour. Aunt Rebecca calls to tell me my father's brother, always their staunchest ally, asked them point blank about the bill at Sunday dinner. Your mother couldn't look him in the eye, she says. She excused herself and cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Lauren texts that the lawyer has withdrawn the claim. No explanation given, just a formal letter of disengagement. At the grocery store, I run into Mrs. Peterson from my parents' church. She squeezes my arm and whispers, "We had no idea, dear. No idea at all." She slips me a Thanksgiving invitation before hurrying away. The power has shifted. Not because I sought revenge, but because I finally stopped protecting them from the consequences of their actions. Aunt Rebecca's Thanksgiving table gleams with polished silver and crystal glasses that catch the afternoon light. I smooth my dress forest green, simple but elegant hand, help her arrange name cards for the 12 guests. Are you sure about this? She asks, placing my card at the head of the table, opposite from where my parents will sit. I'm sure. My voice is steadier than I feel. Guests begin arriving: cousins, Rebecca's friends, Lauren. My sister freezes when she sees me, then rushes forward, her embrace awkward but genuine. I didn't know you'd be here, she whispers, her eyes scanning my face. I should have seen it, Vi. All those years, I should have seen how they treated you. I step back, studying the sister who once accepted my invisibility as the natural order. What changed? Lauren's eyes fill. They did it to me too. Once you were gone and couldn't be the responsible one anymore, they expected me to fill your role. She wipes at a tear. I'm so sorry, Vi. I didn't leave to hurt anyone, Lauren. I tell her, the truth simple but powerful. I left to save myself. The doorbell chimes. Rebecca glances at me, and I nod. She disappears into the foyer, and murmured voices drift in familiar cadences that once defined my world. My parents step into the dining room. Catherine's hand flies to her mouth, her eyes widening in shock. Richard stops abruptly, his face draining of color as if he's seen a ghost. I continue slicing the turkey, my movements deliberate and calm. Happy Thanksgiving, I say, meeting their eyes directly for the first time in over a year. Please sit down. I stand in my home office, fingers tracing the award plaque from last month's Business Journal feature. Self-made success gives back. 2 years have passed since graduation days, and I walked away with nothing but a suitcase and a bill that quantified exactly what my family thought I was worth. The letterhead of the scholarship foundation I established catches my eye: 5 students this year, all self-supporting through college, each receiving what I never did, recognition of their resilience. Next to it sits a local newspaper with my photograph. The mentorship program for young adults from difficult families has garnered community attention. Not the revenge I once craved, but something better. Redefinition. My Christmas tree stands in the corner, each ornament chosen with purpose. A handed angel from Mrs. Abernathy, a delicate glass teacup from Aunt Rebecca. No random accumulation, just carefully chosen pieces reflecting actual connections. 2 months ago, I sat beside Lauren at her business school graduation, our parents conspicuously absent. I told them not to come, Lauren had said, her voice carrying newfound steadiness. Today I wanted family who's proud of me for the right reasons. The housewarming gathering last weekend still lingers in my memory, the chosen family that fills my larger home with genuine warmth. Aunt Rebecca arrived with a family quilt tucked under her arm. This belongs with you now, she said, placing it in my hands. Some traditions are worth keeping, even when others aren't. Lauren stood awkwardly in the corner until Mrs. Abernathy took her arm. I'm officially adopting your sister, my elderly neighbor announced with characteristic bluntness. It's never too late to find the family you deserve. Lauren's eyes met mine across the room, her smile tentative but real. On my bookshelf sits the journal my therapist encouraged me to keep, tracking progress rather than grievances. In yesterday's session, we discussed the difference between forgiving and forgetting. The graduation bill stays framed on my wall, I told her. Not as a reminder of hurt, but as a reminder that I chose something better. 2 Christmas cards sit on my sideboard. One from my mother, her handwriting softer somehow, less demanding. Inside, a note about her therapy sessions, and a request not a demando call when I feel ready. The other from my father, formal and distant, with a gift card that feels like an attempted transaction rather than connection. I place them both in my desk drawer, neither accepted nor rejected. Some relationships heal at different rates, some never do. I've made peace with both possibilities. My doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see my mother standing alone, snowflakes gathering on her shoulders. Her face lacks its usual certainty. I was in the neighborhood, she says when I open the door, an obvious lie given the 30-mile drive from her apartment. I don't expect anything. I just thought, maybe we could talk? I study her face, searching for the manipulation that once characterized our every interaction. Instead, I find something unfamiliar: humility. I can offer coffee, I say, stepping aside. Nothing more. As she passes my study, her eyes catch on the framed bill hanging prominently on the wall. She flinches but says nothing. It reminds me to value myself when others don't, I explain quietly. Later, I sit in my small garden as evening falls, watching my breath form clouds in the cooling air. My phone screen illuminates with messages. The group chat with Marco and Doctor, Sophia about weekend plans, Lauren confirming our sister weekend at the lake, a tentative text from my mother about her next therapy session. Nothing from my father, and that's okay too. I wrap myself tighter in Aunt Rebecca's quilt and whisper the truth it's taken me 2 years to learn. Some debts can never be repaid, but some gifts like freedom you give yourself.